Hello friends, welcome back. Now let's talk about the built-in commands. I'll also show you some practical examples to create the site and install the site from the terminal, not touching the browser at all using WP-CLI. First, we will talk about the WP core command. With the help of the WP core command, you can download, install, and manage the WordPress installation. For example, just execute WP core download and it will download the latest version of WordPress. So if you want to download any specific version, then you just need to pass some parameter like hyphen version and just mention the version name and it will download the WordPress core installation files into your folder wherever you have run this command. So we don't need to go to wordpress.org and click on download WordPress. It will download the zip files and then extract and keep them in a folder or your site installation. Next is the WP-config command. Remember, when we install WordPress from the browser, the WordPress installer will ask us for some of the details like the database details including your username in the browser and its famous 5-minute installation method for WordPress. But using the CLI, you can do this in less than 5 minutes. I'll show you how you can use this command. We just need to create a config file. So run this command wp-config create along with some parameters and it will create the wp-config file for you. You just need to pass the database name, the username, the user password, and the server name, and it will create the wp-config file for you. Then the next command we are going to talk about is the WP-Skfold command. The WP-Skfold command is used for generating things like post types, taxonomies, plugins, and child themes. As a plugin and theme developer, we usually register the post type and we need to copy paste some of the code like the register post type function and their arguments. We need to keep this code handy. And if you remember, it's a large amount of code. So we can do the same using the WP-Skfold command. For example, let's say I want to develop a theme based on the underscore S framework. I will just need to run this command WP-Skfold underscore S and then just pass the theme name in this example given as sample theme and it will create your theme based on the underscore S framework. So you don't even need to visit the underscore site and just add your theme details and it will give you the zip file. Right from the terminal, you can create your theme based on the underscore S. So it's an easy way whenever you want to develop a new theme from scratch. You can just use this command. The next command we are going to talk about is the WPDB command. To perform any database operations using the credentials stored in the config file, we use many tools like SQL Pro or PHPMyAdmin using the browser for accessing the database, checking your database tables, performing some meta or post query. The same thing, the exact MySQL query you can run using this command. The simple command is WP query. You can just pass the query from here, such as select star from WP post or select star from WP users, and it will show you the results based on your query. So right from the terminal, you can interact with the database so that you don't need to switch over to the browser. Like nowadays, many developers use the terminal within the IDE. For example, I'm using VS Code and in the VS Code, I'm using the terminal from that. For checking, like during the development environment, if you want to see some of the database details or entries, whether it's working fine or not or something, then I can just run this command and I can just execute the query and see the results without switching over to the browser. Another command is WP search replace. So many times we do search and replace. Maybe as a freelancer, you may have come across that you had production data and now you had setting site data, right? For example, we usually need to search and replace domain names like wherever you find example.com, replace it with example.test in your local development environment. So sometimes developers do it using the tools like PHPMyAdmin, SQL Pro, or any other tools. But using this command, you can do the same thing and search and replace in your database. So you just need to pass WP search replace and two arguments, foo and bar. This command will replace every instance of foo with the string bar. So here, instead of foo, you can pass your production domain, which you want to replace with your staging or local domain. For anything, not just a domain, you may pass any values that you want to search and replace in the database. You can use this command for that. The next command we are going to look at is the WP package command. In WP-CLI, many custom commands apart from the built-in commands have been developed by many developers and organizations. You can install these using the WP package command. You just need to run WP package install and then pass the package name. Also, you can list all the WP packages available for WP-CLI. So using this command, you can also use any other third party or third party development like who develop the custom commands. I'll show you some custom commands like profile and doctor in the next video. Until now, mostly I've been talking about the theoretical things. So now let's see some practical examples of how to download WordPress, install WordPress, and create your theme and many other things right from the terminal. Here is a folder I have created, which is currently empty. Just to note, I am using Laravel Varit. I have created a folder learn WP-CLI and the same folder name will be my localhost domain. I am just running WP core download command here. It's downloading WordPress. Now, since I have installed many sites before this session, I am getting the zip file from the cached version. And now you can see all these files, that is the WordPress core base files, are going to appear in this folder. Next, we will run wp-config command. Like we saw, there are many arguments out there for this command. But generally, as a developer, sometimes we don't remember the exact arguments we need to pass when we create a config file or for any other commands in general. Then there is a global parameter --prompt. I will talk about this parameter next. So this argument will make this command prompt you to input the values for each and every parameter. So let's see which parameters we need to add. First is the database name. I have already created the database with the same name, Learn WP-CLI. You cannot use WordPress before creating a database. So I already created this database earlier and I am using that. It is asking me the name of the user. I'll pass root. Similarly, the database password. I'll pass the local host as the DB host. Then it is asking me for prefix. I want to keep the default, so I will not add any value and just press enter. Next is character set. I also want to keep this default. I'll also keep the collet as default. Next, it is asking me for locale. Locale means that if you want to set up a site in any other language, for instance Gujarati or Hindi language, then you just need to pass the language code here and it will download the translation files for that language. But I will keep the default as English. For extra PHP, you can add it here, but I will not add anything right now. Next is skip salts. We cannot skip the salts because we need them for creating passwords and cookies. So we will not skip them. By default, it will not skip. And then the skip check. I also don't want to do that. Force means if a config file is already created and you want to override that config with a new one, then just pass yes, else leave it empty. Next, we have a config path, which is the path to the root directory of your WordPress installation. Last one is insecure. Creating an insecure WP config file means setting up the WordPress configuration file with weak security measures, like using easily guessable passwords for the database, not enforcing HTTPS, or leaving file permissions to open. This will create the config file. As you can see in the browser, the WP config file has been created with all the values that we have entered during our prompts. Next, let's install WordPress. I will just run the command wp core install prompt and it will prompt me for the values and arguments. First argument is the URL. I will keep it as local, so I will set it to http learnwp-cli.test. Next, it's asking me the title of the site. I'll pass learn WP-CLI. Next is the admin user. Always use admin for the admin username. I'll also pass password as the same. Next is asking me the email of the admin user. We don't have any locale, so I'll skip it. Next is skip email. Yes, I don't want to add any email, so I'll skip it. And our WordPress is installed. Now let's see whether it is installed or not. Now if we are using Laravel Valet, you will have to add symbolic links so that the front end for the newly created site is accessible. So in the terminal, you will have to type the command valid link and the folder name. In our case, it's WP-CLI, and you will be prompted to pass the system's password. Once the symbolic link is created, you can use the valid links to verify if the symbolic link is created. Now I will visit this site. As you can see, our WordPress site is installed correctly. Now we want to add a theme. But before that, we'll learn the WP help command. The WP help command will list all the commands available and what exactly they do. You can find the list of default commands as well as the doctor and some of the profile commands that are custom commands I have installed for our session. For example, in the WordPress admin, you don't have a way to delete a transient, but using the transient command, that is WP transient, you can delete all the transients from the options table. It's very easy and you can do that. The transient API is used for caching data. Remember, for example, when working with third-party API calls or caching similar data, so many things you can do. You can also create users. You don't need to ask your client to create user for you or ask your team members to create user. You can do it yourself using WP-CLI. Next, I'll show you the WP-Skfold command. So let me run WP help scaffold. And this will show me the help manual for WP-Skfold. This is the command you have. You can create a block, create a child theme, a plugin, plugin tests, post type, taxonomy, theme tests, underscores, and more. Now let's create a theme for our site. I'll run the command WP-Skfold _s and -- prompt. First, it is asking me to pass the theme slug. I'll pass learn WP-CLI as the theme slug. Next, it's asking me to activate it by default. No, I don't want to activate it immediately. Enable network arguments is used if you have a multi-site environment. You can enable this theme to be used on all subsites. Currently, I have a single subsite, so I will set it to no. Then, for the theme name, I will add learn WP-CLI. The author, let's see, team, learn, WP. For the author URI, I'll add tutor@learnwp.com. Then specify if you want to download or use the features like variables, nested rules, mixins, and modules to make CSS more powerful and efficient, you can use this argument if I want to base it on the _s theme. Next is WooCommerce support. We don't need it right now, so I'll set it to no. It will take some time to generate this scaffold. Now it's created. Let's look at the WP content and themes folder. If you open the folder for Learn WP-CLI and its style.css, all the details that we passed in the prompts are available here. We don't need to visit the browser or the site, and just from the terminal, you have created a theme. Similarly, you can create a plugin as well. Let me show you. I already had a plugin Hello Dolly downloaded in my downloads folder and I will install it. Let's say I have a zip file for the plugin in my downloads folder. I'll run the command wp plugin install and then pass the path to my plugin. I also want to activate the plugin at the same time. So I'll pass the prompt -- activate. This will install the plugin and activate it. Now it's getting the zip file and installing it. My plugin is installed, and as you can see, it is currently present in the plugins folder. It has also activated the plugin at the same time. Similarly, you can install plugins from the WordPress plugin repository. For example, if you want to install the Gutenberg plugin, you can do that with WP plugin install Gutenberg, and it will download the latest version from the wp.org directory and install it. If you pass -- activate flag with it, it will activate the plugin as well. So this is the way you can create users, set up the site, and manage everything directly from the terminal. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Jai WordPress!